I know what you're thinking. What am I doing with a new video for Tuesday? I publish on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right? Well, today is a special day. Today is Hedwig's birthday. Why do I care when Harry Potter's owl has her birthday? I don't. Hedwig is, or was, my maternal grandmother and a very special person in my life. She was born Jadwiga Agnieszka Kwiatkowska on November 7th, 1917, in the town just outside of Port Jervis called Greenville. Her parents and her older brother and sister came to this area in 1913, and my great grandfather had a shoe store in the city of Port Jervis. He didn't just sell shoes, he made shoes. A few years ago, I did some research and found the record of her family's arrival in the Ellis Island archives, showing that they arrived in the U.S. from Bremen, Germany on the Grosser Kurfürst on October 15th, 1913. Grandma was the first person in her family born in the United States. She didn't learn to speak English until she went to kindergarten because they spoke Polish at home. When I was a little girl, my grandmother told me stories about growing up in my grandfather's store, my great-grandfather's store, forgive me, spending time after school and on holidays in the shop, sitting curled up in one of the huge wooden chairs where people used to sit to try on shoes. I still have those chairs. So, I was thinking about Grandma today and wanted to do something special for her birthday. And I thought, what better way to celebrate her than to do it in House Flipper, a game created by a Polish team of developers. When I was a child, my mother and grandmother used to speak Polish when they wanted to talk about things they didn't want me to know. Needless to say, they didn't teach me to speak Polish. I truly wish they had. But what Grandma did teach me was how to make kluski and stuffed cabbage and a dish whose name I don't remember that consisted of lima beans and ham. She also taught me to make potato soup. I can still remember her coming over to make it when I was ill. Forget about chicken soup. It was the potato soup I still crave to this day when I'm sick. It warms my heart and makes me feel happy and content. It was a simple dish, too. Potatoes, onions, a bit of celery and parsley, and once the soup was ready, she added little dumplings called zaczerki and garnished the whole thing with bacon bits and a little bacon grease. So today, in honor of Hedwig's birthday, in loving memory of the woman who encouraged my creativity from the time I could talk, I did my best to recreate the house she was living in when I was a child. Without further ado, let's go to 101 Wall Street. Okay, so now her house was on a street in Port Jervis. And I'll tell you now, I am not going to sell this house when I finish the tour today because I want to add to it. I want to make a garden. I want to um, add the garage and so on and so on. But roughly, this is what the property looked like. She had a front porch, 101, and a mailbox. I need to put furniture here, and I will. Inside, this hall is probably at least a third wider than it actually was. But then again, I was a very small child when I spent time here. So I guess, memories make things bigger, don't they? Now, my grandmother had an aquarium like this in the hallway at the bottom of the stairs. And the telephone was there. And by the way, her telephone was a party line. And the there was a little bit more space between the aquarium and the edge of the table. And the reason I'm telling you that is that when I was approximately 3 years old, I became fascinated with the fish in the tank. And my mother, well, she was in the living room and she was watching TV while she waited for my grandmother to come down and go out somewhere that they were going to be going. And in the meantime, I climbed up on the chair, I climbed on the table, and I was chasing the fish in the fish tank, standing in a space that was maybe twice as big as the space that's shown here, just enough to have my feet on it. So this is her living room, and yeah, the furniture is kind of like what she had. I remember the secretary because I actually had that for a while after she passed away. She had the big TV and the two sedan, I don't know what you would call them. Anyway, and then through here is the dining room. And that piano was actually, it was a player piano that had had the works removed. So it still worked as a regular piano, but it didn't have the player piano works. And what makes that interesting is that you could still lock the keyboard. And my mother's brother, when he was a little boy, used to park his little toy cars and trucks in the spaces between the black keys. And in doing that one day, he accidentally broke off one of the black keys. And rather than get in trouble by saying, "Oh, I did something," he got some glue. I think it was called fish glue. And he glued it back. But when he glued it back, it was just a tad off. And the next time my mother played piano, she thought something horrible had happened because this one key was not where she expected it to be. My grandmother did have a key. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't finish that story. I just kind of trailed off. So what happened was they got the piano tuner in and they tried to get him to fix it. And he couldn't get the key off again because whatever glue it was that my uncle had used was so good that it just wouldn't come apart again. Now, back to the radio. My grandmother did have a radio like this. And when I was a little girl, it actually worked. I mean, you could still listen to radio. This is the kitchen. This is the place where we used to make potato soup and kluski and all the other goodies. And this was a pantry. It's a little bigger. Everything is slightly out of proportion. And this was the back porch. Now, I intend to finish this. The reason I haven't finished it is that it's late and I have to go to the city tomorrow. So upstairs we had, again, the hallway is way wider than it should be. But, oh my gosh, that was not missing before. I'm sorry, that just wasn't missing before. Oh, I gotta fix it. Walls, wallpapers, and it was, oh gosh, what the heck color was it? Was it yellow? Orange? Brown. Oh, light brown maybe? Yeah. Yeah, that's better. If it doesn't match, I'll figure it out next time. And there will be a next time. So, at the time that I was about 3 or 4 years old, my dad had lost his job and my parents moved in with my grandmother for a little while. And this was their and my bedroom. The furniture is approximate, not exact. I remember this dresser as being way higher than that because one time when I was a child, I, okay, this is going to sound horribly scary to any parents in the room. Um, I had a headache and my parents were asleep. So I climbed up the drawers and got the baby aspirin that was on top of this chest of drawers and took two, I think, whatever it was that you would normally take if you were being given baby aspirin by your parents. So, and yes, I did tell them about it afterwards, and yes, they were horrified, but I survived it. This room at one time was would have been my great grandmother's room. She lived with my grandmother for a while. Poor grandma had everybody living with her. And this was grandma's room. It was quite a bit like this. Interesting thing about it was there was a light on the headboard that she used to use to read at night. Um, Again, this room is, the proportions just aren't quite right. This was a bedroom also, but the bathroom was added here. And this was where grandma did her sewing. And she had an old fashioned sewing machine like this. In fact, hers actually had the truddle, they call it, the thing on the feet that she used to have to work her feet to make the sewing machine go. It was later electrified, but I thought it was more fun the other way. Then there's a bathroom. And again, this isn't horribly exciting. Um, I remember going in this bathroom one time, and for some reason, my mother wanted to follow me in, and I didn't want her to. And I slammed the door right on her finger. Yep, I'm a horrible person. I didn't mean to hurt her, but boy, I guess I really did. Okay, that's really the tour. There's going to be a lot more. And as I say, I am not going to sell this property. I'm going to continue to decorate it. And as I think of them, I will tell you stories. Um, Her television, for example. When I was 7, perhaps, I was at her house for the afternoon and she had the TV on, and one of the Hammer Dracula films was on. And there was a scene where the vampire turns into what looks like marble, then crumbles to dust. That horrified me so much, and she had no idea I was watching it. That horrified me so much. I had nightmares for weeks afterwards about that. I learned to play piano on that piano when I was 4, maybe 5. No, 3 or 4, because we were actually still living with her at the time. This has to be filled up with stuff. In the real house, there would have been a door here that led down to the cellar. And my grandmother's cellar actually had a coal bin, and they used to like pour the coal in through the window. And I guess for now, that's about all I can tell you. I will have to make some notes and do some more. But that's the basics. And like I said, I would have finished this and finished decorating it and done everything before I showed it to you. But if I did that, I wouldn't have it out for Grandma's birthday. So I hope you enjoyed the tour, and I hope you will come back when I finished it and see the rest. Oh, the last thing I want to tell you, up there, you'll notice that it's dark green up there right under the roof. And that's because at the time I was a child, and before that, and for quite a while after that, you could see that shade of green all over town. People painted their houses, people painted, um, I guess, other things too. But anyway, the thing is, that was Erie Green, the Erie Railroad. I'd love to know how many cans of paint went missing from the Erie Railroad that ended up on people's houses. So for now, that's it. As I said, this is a happy birthday tribute to Grandma. I love her. I miss her. She was one of my favorite people when I was a little girl. We spent a lot of time together, and she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot about being creative, and she also instilled in me a love of reading. I know I've mentioned this before. She used to take me to the library every 2 weeks, and we would come home with a bag full of books. And there's one thing I'm going to add. I'm sorry, this is going to take a moment. Frame it, black frame, oh, black frame, and yeah, I keep hitting spacebar. Actually, in Grandma's house, there was a picture of my mother here, but that's Grandma. That's Hedwig. That picture was taken at my wedding. On her left, I believe that's my other grandmother. Behind her is my mother's brother's son and my uncle. Anyway, so that's that. Please remember to subscribe, to like. Let me know what you think of this. Do you not want to hear stories like this anymore? Do you like the stories? Are there stories that you know about me that you'd like to hear? Keep it clean. Let me know in the comments. And as I said, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday.